Welcome back everyone. Today we will be discussing the Jordan 11 Cool Gray once again. Specifically, we'll be discussing whether you should sell or hold the Jordan 11 Cool Gray and why that is. To preface this, if you guys enjoy these types of videos regarding the market, reselling, even info on how to acquire these limited products, be sure to subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you're 100% updated. Furthermore, for more urgent updates like the recent shock drop we saw on these, follow my Twitter KeithAdam10 and also personals for you. For those who do not know, the Jordan 11 Cool Gray releases on December 11th, tomorrow. Retail will be $225 for men's sizes, those of which we'll be discussing today. Stock is over 1 million pairs, which is absolutely insane for not just a Jordan, but any sneaker to begin with. Do not fear though, as the demand on these is absolutely insane as well. Tons are also already in circulation from the exclusive access, shock drops, flex app reservation, pre-selling, and even general early pairs. For example, the shock drop had 98k pairs on Sneakers US alone, and another 15k for the first exclusive access, and another few thousand for the other exclusive access. Granted, the majority stock still has not yet dropped, but there is certainly already a lot out there. If you're watching this video before the drop, feel free to watch my How to Cop. Otherwise, let's jump into this. In order to determine if the Jordan 11 Cool Gray will be a fruitful hold, we will cover an estimated range of what the sneaker will settle at after the drop, and also when shipments come in, essentially the pairs going into circulation, whether they're expected to increase post-drop or even hypothetically decrease, along with how much specifically over specific periods of time, and finally, what type of margin are we looking at for these in terms of holding. Not the retail to resell initial margin, but rather the hold margin over X period of time. Basically, are these actually going to be worth your time or not? Kicking it off, let's discuss the estimated range that these should be settling at. To begin with, stock for these is absolutely insane, as we've already discussed. Similarly, demand for these is also absolutely insane. This is very clearly reflected through the very steady high bids, as well as the consistently immense sale volume ever since the shock drop several weeks ago. It has not slowed down one bit and will only increase after the drop. This of course makes perfect sense considering this is a classic Jordan 11 colorway, those of which typically garner this caliber of demand, such as the Jordan 11 Concord and the Jordan 11 Bread, which were in very similar situations in terms of stock and demand. We also have not seen this retro since 2010, which is a larger time period than both the Bread and Concord had. Retail is pretty high on these, unfortunately, at $225, hence this will inevitably affect the margin. However, I am still confident that these will still maintain profitability, especially in larger size 10 and up, the bigger being the better. As I stated in my How to Cop video, I would be prepared to expect a subpar margin due to the high retail, sadly. Regardless though, these are certainly still a go. Even if the margin isn't all that great, small profit, or if you have tax, lunch money, still adds up. Now, regarding a specific range, prices have already seen the vast majority of their pre-drop decrease following shock drop pairs, early access pairs, and the flex app pre-selling. This leaves the current average at about $310, but of course, this is only the pre-drop average. We normally see a notable change post-US drop. This is when we normally experience what I like to refer to as the impulsivity effect. You guys should know what I'm referring to by now, as we discuss it in every single seller hold video. Regarding the impulsivity effect, if you haven't watched my videos before, sneaker drops specifically impact human impulsiveness significantly after an individual fails to acquire that desired product due to insufficient supply and too much demand. Therefore, on average, we normally see about a 10% increase of the pre-drop prices post-drop. Now, that 10% is not always the case, such as when a sneaker is already slightly overvalued or if there's too much stock. In fact, I do believe that this situation can very well be one of those where we see a sneaker actually dip post-drop due to overvaluing, just like the prior pairs we did discuss. Although demand is extremely high on these, the impulsivity effect is normally provoked by people not being able to cop, of course. Hence, despite the immense demand, I really don't believe we'll see a positive impulsivity effect after this drop. The immense stock will outweigh the current demand, and thus I am expecting a minor dip after the drop rather than an increase. This, of course, is not what occurs in most cases, where we normally see a 5 to 15% increase, normally around around 10%. That's not what I'm expecting with these current prices, however. When it comes to these, I'd expect around a 5% decrease in these current prices. Nothing terrible, but I'm certainly not expecting an increase, unfortunately. This could potentially leave the average at about $295 tomorrow after all the drops are finished, with the larger sizes still being the best. Hence, you could expect the majority of these sizes to be under $290, while some larger sizes could very well maintain in the low $300 range still. Now, let's discuss what the price will look like once shipments go out in that 1 to 2 week range. During this period, the vast majority of pairs will be going into circulation, aside from the amount of pairs that already went out through exclusive access, the shock drops, and of course in-store pairs too. When it comes to these, I'm expecting a very similar situation to what we saw with the Jordan 11 Concord as well as the Jordan 11 Bread. As I've already made the comparison earlier, these are in a very similar situation, almost identical in terms of the massive demand and massive stock. When it comes to those Jordan 11s, we actually did not see a drastic drop in price like you may have expected for a shoe with a million stock and more. Rather, we only had a mild dip on those, considering the immense demand did prevail. Therefore, I'm only expecting another 5% decrease after all shipments go out, rather than the typical 10 to 15% decrease that we normally see. Now granted, this of course is affected by the fact that we likely won't see a positive impulsivity effect, but regardless, this still leaves us with the ability to profit. This decrease after shipments could potentially leave prices at an average of $280. But of course, larger sizes should still perform the best, hence it is suggested to focus on those. I could certainly see many of these larger sizes maintained in the 290s and potentially even touching 300. But now with the average price range at those points in time evident, let's discuss whether they're expected to increase post-shipment prices or even hypothetically decrease. When it comes to these, of course, the most useful comparison will be the other classic Jordan 11s with immense demand and immense stock similar to these, those of which we've already mentioned in this video. So let's take a look at the Jordan 11 Bread and Jordan 11 Concord as examples. Evidently, both of these saw very notable and healthy increases. Not just that, but the ROI on these, especially on the Concords, is very impressive. Hence, I am definitely expecting a very similar situation with these, regardless of the huge stock. It's really not much different from the other examples. However, do note that these did not increase immediately. It actually took a lot of time for them to start increasing, and that's what we're about to be discussing soon. So finally, regarding the hold margin on these, essentially, are these actually going to be worth your time even if they do go up? Well, considering I'm expecting these to increase in a similar manner to those other Jordan 11s that we did reference, this means we should indeed get to see a pretty healthy ROI, just like we've already seen on those 2018 Concords. Now, that's the key word though, 2018. That's right, these released a very long time ago. Although the ROI was very healthy on these Concords, it took them a very long time to achieve this, of course due to the very high stock. Overall though, we have amazing potential for a great long-term ROI. However, because it will take a while to achieve, this does of course hinder the rating that I do usually provide. Hence, I have decided to rate these a 6 out of 10 hold. I'm giving a lot of credit to these because they're a very safe hold and almost guarantee a solid ROI in the long run. Had this been achievable in 1 year's time, I'd likely rate these an 8 out of 10, which is absolutely incredible, but sadly this will take a while. But regardless, I'd still say this is an above average hold. Moral of the story is that if you are patient and you don't need the capital right now, you should consider holding these. I myself will be holding the majority of my pairs, considering I'm in no rush to get the capital back, and of course, I'll definitely be keeping a personal of these classic beauties. Also, just a note in general for anyone considering holding any item who does have low capital, you should never hold anything in general if you don't have sufficient capital to go for as many drops as possible at your full potential without holding back. If you do need money to go for all drops, try to sell these as soon as possible before prices dip from the shipments. So let me know what you guys are planning to do with your pairs down in the comments below. Since this is just a discussion at the end of the day, I can't predict the future. This is just my personal analysis based on the data that I've acknowledged. We have a lot of brilliant minds watching the video right now, so I implore you to leave your notions down in the comments below. But anyway, that will conclude it for today. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed, or perhaps if you learned a thing or two. Subscribe and enable post notifications. This way you stay 100% updated on all hyped releases. Also, feel free to check out the links in the description below for reliable, fast, residential proxies and pre-verified Nike sneakers or Adidas accounts. Also, feel free to follow Endurance's Twitter for updates on restocks or key giveaways, and the same goes for Gargantua if you want to keep up with the progress or restock. Restocks. Last but not least, make sure to follow Keith Adam 10 and also Personals for You. This way you guys stay updated on all urgent info like I was discussing today. With that though, I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and of course, good luck on this drop, or if you already copped, congratulations.